This is going to be really informal today. This is the Data Science Learning Community Project Club. Today, I'm John Harmon. Among other things, I am the lead curator and developer for Tidy Tuesday. And today I'm going to be talking about how you can submit a data set. And like my main goal here is I want to give talks about Tidy Tuesday, and I want to know what would still be interesting, basically. And so I'm going to be seeking some advice here. Um, I am in the middle of adding functionality to submit this data set or submit data sets to Tidy Tuesday using the Tidy Tuesday R package. I don't have that quite done, but we're going to talk a little bit about that. And so this isn't like I don't have a presentation for this. This is definitely just kind of a conversation, but hopefully I can inspire some people to submit some data sets. So I guess the first thing I will do is share. Let's see. Let's get the Tidy Tuesday website. And where is my share button? There it is. Yeah, I'll just share this screen. All right, it looks like you can see my screen, and I need to move my windows because they hide the chat when you try to share. Okay. And let's see. Okay, good. I should be able to see if anyone like raises their hand or wants to talk, whatever. Or if you say something in the chat, I just might not notice right away. So give me a second if you say something. All right. So this is Tidy Tuesday. If you're not familiar, this is a project we've been running since 2018. You can find it at tidytues.day, which redirects right now to the GitHub repository. And the general idea is every week we release a data set for people to explore, like create. The main goal is you can create visualizations and share how you did that either here in our Slack or on social media. We post these data sets on Blue Sky, LinkedIn, and sorry, can you mute Samuel?
That's fine.
Yeah, can you hop onto the R4DS, or I mean the DSLC account, and
Yeah.
like be able to mute? Yeah, I mean it'll be fine. But all right. So yeah, we share them on Blue Sky, LinkedIn, and Mastodon right now, and then also here in our Slack. So if you go to the chat Tidy Tuesday channel, each week the data set appears there. To see them on LinkedIn, follow Lydia Gibson. She shares the LinkedIn posts, and I share them right now on Blue Sky and Mastodon. I will, make sure that we get all of our info about how to find us into the chat and in the description of the YouTube video if we end up posting this. And then also you can just follow the DSLC accounts on all of those things because we repost them on Tuesday. So the general pattern is on Monday, we share the data set so that people can start posting things on Tuesday. That's where the Tidy Tuesday name comes from. And we reshare that as Data Science Learning Community on Tuesday. So let me go back. Actually, let's talk about this week's data set, which will come out Monday. Is about all of the PositConf talks from 2023 and 2024 because PositConf just opened their call for speakers for 2025. And so we wanted to give people some information so they could see that That's, oops, sorry, I had to mute for a second there, so that they could see kind of what have people done in the past. So I got this from Rachel Dempsey at Posit and then did a little bit of cleaning on it. And so this is what it ends up looking like for a week. We have a brief intro that I wrote, some instructions on how to download the data. That's always the same. It's just different by what is the date and the name of the data set. Some instructions on how to participate, data dictionaries, importantly, so that people know what the heck the data is all about, and a cleaning script. And then within the year README, we post, or we put in the date and the source of the data, and like an article related to the data. And then also within the main Tidy Tuesday README, we put that same information. And so there's a whole process to make that happen. And it used to be kind of a pain, but now it's mostly automated as long as you follow a certain template. And so I think I will hop over, actually, no, go to the instructions. Does anyone have any questions about Tidy Tuesday in general? And by the way, the reason I keep looking over to the right is that's where I have the video and the chat. So you have these instructions within the Tidy Tuesday repository about how to submit a data set. As I said, I'm in the process of kind of embedding this process into the Tidy Tuesday R package. So this actually is about to get a little bit easier, but the same idea still holds. So we're going to kind of walk through how to do this. So there's a question in the chat of when do we submit a data set for Tidy Tuesday? And the answer is any time. So I guess I can back up a little bit and show that we have a couple that people have submitted that I haven't had a chance or haven't needed to review yet. My goal, actually can show that right here, that for 2025, I want to crowdsource the curation of Tidy Tuesday data sets. I have done really hundreds of data sets at this point, at least dozens. And so, let other people have some fun. I also think it's like if you have an interesting data set that you are kind of curious about, what can people, how can people visualize it? What can people find in it? Sometimes people do modeling using the data sets as just examples. I think it's a great way to just get it out there and let people play and then see what they find, see what they might show you. We have some really talented people who create visualizations at the hashtag Tidy Tuesday. And so, if you want to see some cool visualizations of your data, submitting the data sets would be great. But also, as I show here, just you can find a data set. We have issues within the within our repository of data sets, and I'll show that in a little bit, that people have submitted ideas of data sets. And so going through and finding those would also, looking at those submissions and actually going through the steps of preparing them would be very useful. Did that answer your question, Simi? I will assume yes. All right. So a data set is one or more CSV files. Did you have a question, Gabby, or was that just?
Yeah, I've always had a question. Maybe you can walk us through at some point during the presentation. So, like you said, you have tons of data there already submitted that you essentially probably remember them all. But if I'm new to this and I want to submit a data set that I found, what is the best way to search through whatever it is that you have already uploaded so that it's not a duplicate?
Here, give me a second. Oh, darn it. Zoom has to be in front. That is annoying. Okay. I'm just trying to get my repo handy. So if we go to, make sure I have the right URL. Yes. So we have this repository TT meta. And so I'll put in the chat, you can do this to install that package, and you can install the, let's see, install packages pack, and then run that. This is a data set or an R package that automatically updates every week with information about every data set that we've ever had. This is one of the projects for this year that I would like to make this a little bit easier to play with, but it has a TT summary table, TT URLs table, and TT datasets metadata that tells you everything about every data set we've ever had. TT URLs table is a good one for figuring out, has this data set I'm looking at ever been used? But really all of them you can kind of, explore. Those are tibbles, and so they're, you can use all the normal exploration tools to determine if they have been used. I don't remember if we have instructions. I think we have some sort of instructions for finding, yeah. So we have this dataset review.md within the Tidy Tuesday repo that kind of has some instructions on just going through and reviewing the existing dataset issues. And I really should add some stuff about the TT meta in there. But yeah, so TT meta is the package that should help you find if it has ever been done.
Yeah.
Eventually, I want to put a Shiny app up of TT meta to make that really easy to explore. That's probably coming relatively soon. All right, go ahead, Lydia.
Yeah, I think currently in the issue template, it just mentions that you can just search the repo to see whether or not a data set was used.
Right.
I don't think we mentioned TT meta.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, when you go to submit a data set, we have this template that kind of walks you through some information. Again, I'm hoping to kind of make like that. We'll still have this if you want to do it this way, but I'm hoping to make this kind of unnecessary because you can just submit the data set. And so I guess other than you don't want to waste your time cleaning it, don't worry too much about checking if it's already been done. Like I ask you to check, but I also still check. So like if you already have a data set and it's clean and ready to go, submitting the steps after cleaning aren't that complicated. And so I would encourage you to submit it. If you can check, great. But if you can't, I'll check for you before I accept it. But yeah, so TT meta, that's the package for kind of seeing what's going on. And let me get back to, oops, not issues, but go back to, so there's this main contributing, and it has the links to all the things I'm showing you today about how to do it. But the main thing that we would appreciate is the submitting a pull request, because that does the whole process. So as it says here, you'll need the source of the data set, an article about the data set, or that uses the data set, or really that somehow relates to the data set. For example, my article for the POSITConf talks is the article about the call for submissions. So it's related. It's not really, they don't use those data sets in that article. That's fine. And then we do need an image. I'm actually writing this part of the vignette right now that, either use, like I've used images from from the article, images from the source, sometimes just a random generic image that has some relationship to it. For example, we've done some movie data sets, and I just find a movie poster that is one of the movies of the thousands that are in the data set, just randomly pull one up. Or in some cases, create a ggplot image that has something to do with the data set. So maybe it's what you have done as an example, and other people can do other things. So those are the things you'll need. We have instructions here on preparing your repository. This is what I'm trying to make unnecessary, because this is probably the most painful step, especially if you have like slow or unreliable internet. Because right now, what we ask you to do is clone the entire Tidy Tuesday repository, which is like, it's possible it's one of the largest repositories on GitHub, because it has, tons and tons of data sets in it. That is something that I hope to, well, I know that I'm going to simplify. I've done a test run of it where you won't have to do that within a week or two if you use the Tidy Tuesday R package. But that's the first step. And I guess the 0th step is you have to create a GitHub account. These instructions in our club repos tell you or walk you through how to do that and how to check that you have done it correctly. I do recommend in general following these, because it tells you how to set up, use this, and how to make your life easier with GitHub. And so hopefully that will get you started. And again, I'm not going to walk through all of that today. So yeah, you still, need to set up GitHub. I definitely recommend all that. And if you have an idea right away, do this, like create from GitHub or for data science Tidy Tuesday. That will copy the entire Tidy Tuesday repository to your computer. You do need some space for it. I don't know how much right now, and I am not sure that I can easily check. Let me again see if I can pull this up. I guess I do have the Tidy Tuesday repository all right here. So let's see if I can find. Yeah, it looks like it's about 10 gigs. So, that's going to take a little bit of time. It's not that huge compared to some things these days, but it's pretty big for just something where you want to submit a data set. And so I'm trying to eliminate that need. All right. And again, these like how to do branching, I think this is really useful to learn how to do these things. But we're going to eliminate the need to do these very soon, where you won't really be creating a branch. We're going to be like creating a branch for you as you submit them. So let's go down to the most important step. Preparing the data set. There is a curated folder. So there's this, this template folder inside the curated folder in the Tidy Tuesday repo. Again, we're going to automatically create this folder for you starting soon, but the idea is you need to create a folder that has in it cleaning.r. It will have saving.r until I eliminate the need for that, and then it's going to help you create a data dictionary for each thing that you clean. It also will have intro.md and meta.yaml. And now we will go through kind of what's in each of these files. And for that, for part of that, at least I can go to this vignette that I'm in the middle of writing. So that first file, cleaning.r, it's going to start out with just a mostly blank file. Looks like this. It kind of gives a little bit of instructions, but the idea is that this is where you do your data cleaning. So whatever it takes to clean your data set, we want to see how to do that. The idea is start with whatever the source is of the data. If the source is not publicly available, you can, start with a comment about that, and then clean the data set. So in this vignette, what I'm doing is I'm using a built-in R data set with information about the 50 United States. And so this is what my cleaning script looks like for that. So the built-in data set is this like ugly data frame, and it's actually fine. It would work as is, except very importantly, it doesn't have a column for the states. They are names for the rows, which doesn't save nicely when you try to save it as a CSV. So instead, I just pull those into a column, clean up the names because some of the names have spaces in them. And a thing that I like to do, not really 100% necessary, but if columns are integers or logical or dates, and in the data set they're just numbers, I like to specify that when I clean my data sets, just because that way it kind of tells the user what to expect a little bit better. And so if we look at my cleaned version, it's basically the same thing, just janitor automatically cleans the column names, and I did a little bit of cleanup on the data types. Again, this part, like I specifically say in the vignette, that I can't entirely teach you how to do this because this is what R4DS, the book, is basically, and that's a very long book. So there's lots of things I can definitely give tips on, but you clean your data set, you end up with a clean data set, or often more than one clean data set. For example, I could also include, there is a built-in data set of the like geographic boundaries of the states. And so maybe I would also include that as part of the Tidy Tuesday data sets. I'm not going to do that right now, but just as an example, we often have more than one. For this week coming up, the POSIT Conf, we have 2 Tibbles, one for 2023 and one for 2024 of all the POSIT Conf talks. All right. So once we've done that, we save that into our working directory. And there's that example. And then, so we have this states, this object that we created. All right. And we have a function coming. So if you're using the base setup, there's this file saving.r, and you just kind of plug your data set into that file and run it, and it will save. Or we can do, coming up soon, there's this TT save data set that takes the object, and when you save it, let's see if it's going to save over it. I don't remember. Yeah, okay. And it will create this. So this is the states.md file that it automatically creates. And it takes all of those columns that you had, it pulls the class out, and then puts this blank space for you to describe the field. So I guess cleaning the data set is probably the most work. Writing the dictionary is second most. Sometimes, if you're lucky, like the data set source will have information. So like this has information in it about the states or of the data. And so I should have that here. I just basically copied that, cleaned it up a little bit, made my dictionary. An important thing to notice here is we do not care about this doesn't have to be pretty. You don't have to line up all the lines because Markdown doesn't care. It's just looking for these pipe characters to define the columns. It doesn't hurt to make it pretty, but you don't have to. But we do need to have that information, and that's going to show up if we look at, I should probably just keep one open. If we look at this coming data set, this is what that ends up looking like when it renders in the information about the data set. I mean, obviously, this is a different dictionary than what I'm showing here, but we need these two, or we need a table for each data set. Any questions at this point? I guess just, raise your hand if you have questions at any point, or ask them in the chat, and I'll watch for that and try to pause. Okay. And again, you repeat that process for each data set that you wrangled. So if we had state boundaries, we would do tt save dataset state boundaries. It would create another data dictionary. We'd fill in all the data for that. All right. And then, so the next hardest part is, and I actually wrote, or did I copy this yet? Let's see. Yeah, I did. So I can go ahead and run this. You will get this blank, or, effectively blank intro.rmd, whether you're using the new functions that are coming or if you're copying the template, and it tells you vaguely what to do. This is to create the part at the very top, like this section. Actually, that section. Where you can describe whatever you need to describe about this data set. We give you the basic template of, we want a description, usually a quote, and then one or more questions. All of this is optional, but that's the general format we're looking for. If you have a better way to introduce your particular data set, do what makes sense. The example I have here, I just kind of went with the template. Copy that. We can look at it. Almost every time I start with this week we're exploring, and then describe what we're exploring, or this week we're looking at, or this week we're visualizing, I don't know, whatever might make sense. And so whatever it might be. And then with an exclamation point. Again, all these little like formatting things, try to get them. That's nice, but that's what I will comment on when you submit a pull request. Oh, and if you have a typo, hopefully I'll catch that. The other thing is actually, that's something to bring up at this, that I do want to start getting kind of semi-official beta testers of Tidy Tuesday. Like the next 2 weeks of Tidy Tuesday are available in the repo right now. Inevitably, not inevitably, but occasionally, Thursday or Friday of the week after it has been released, someone says, "Oh, John, did you notice that in about half of the rows of the data set, there's nothing in the population column?" It's like, no, I didn't notice that. If I did, I probably would have fixed it. Although sometimes people just think, yeah, I did it on purpose as a exercise for people to clean. For example, this last, what was it? Oh, it was the James Beard Awards for the end of 2024. One of the data sets in that, the web scrape had some missing data. And so like starting at a certain point in the table, everything was off by one column, and then it would get off by another column when we hit another empty one, and it was making a mess. And so I would love exactly, yes, it was totally intentional. So that was one that I wish I had realized that before it went out. And so I would really love to start recruiting people to intentionally work a week or two ahead when it's possible. Now, traditionally, that has not been possible. I have done many data sets on Monday morning before it automatically got put out on social media at 8 in the morning. We're trying to make that not a thing anymore, trying to get these data sets done ahead of time. And if they are done ahead of time, I would love to have some people who kind of just plan to work a week ahead and let me know when they run into things. I don't always have the time to like actually create visualizations. That's when you notice, because you try to make your visualization, you're like, this doesn't make any sense. And so that is one of the things that I'd kind of like to start getting out there. I don't want everyone working a week ahead. That kind of defeats the purpose, but some core group of people who are like ready to deal with issues, because the problem is once it's released, people will have like projects that they're doing based on the data set. Can't really change things or it will break their project. And so I would like to start getting it fixed ahead of time. All right. But anyway, that was kind of a digression. This is what an intro looks like. I put some questions in there. This is, again, just kind of looking at your data set. What are some things you think of? And these are kind of the, for people who have no idea where to start, I want to give them an idea. Again, this is not a like required piece, but chances are if you don't include it, I'll try to, or I might ask you to. So not 100% required, but I really like it. We started doing that last year sometime, I think. And I think it's just we've gotten a lot fewer questions about where do I start? So that's the idea of that. Now, if you are someone who has been doing Tidy Tuesday a lot, or if you've done a ton of data visualizations, you probably don't need these questions. You might have your own ideas of what to look at. And the other side of that is sometimes I ask these questions and I'm not sure how I would answer them. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's in the data set. Or actually, I know, like I can tell that this is in the data set, but I don't have a idea of how to visualize that, for example. These ones are pretty straightforward because it's a map. Although, is there a relationship? I don't know. I haven't done the actual analysis to see, but that is something that people could look at. All right. Let's see. So next up, I do have one more step. It's kind of done. So next we need images. And like I talked about before, often you can find these. Technically, I could just go look for a United States image for this, but I wanted it to actually relate to the data set. Oh, actually, while I'm thinking of it, this is 1975, not 1977. So I wanted to fix that. All right. So I almost think we should move to making this part of the process officially is make one visualization. Like I do recommend it. Again, I don't always do that. I don't practice what I preach, but this is how you catch errors is actually do something with the data. And so, yeah, find an image if you can, and then kind of also create one or more images. This is just a real quick example. Again, I'm not going to teach you how to create images, but part of why I want to make it official, like a general part of the process, is that then I'm not sure exactly where yet, but this should be included in the repository as just an example, and that way this people who are just starting working with data can see, oh, that's how you make a ggplot. Cool. And so this does a real quick using base plus ggplot. What did I do? Oh, I didn't. Okay. And it just makes a real simple population chloropleth map. From 1975. It would be kind of interesting, and actually that's a question I'll sometimes ask in these intros is like, maybe I'll point to a data source or even just leave it kind of open of, can you find a data source with more current data and how does population compare or something like that. Or sometimes we have, let's say we had used this as a data set at some point, and then sometime later we might have an updated version of it. And so we'll ask questions about, how has this changed or what was missing in the previous data set, that kind of thing. I don't have anything yet for like automatically saving these. So I have this whole thing of putting it into the right place. I probably will add a helper function for this to save images to the right place or save plots to the right place. But yeah, that's my plot. And then that's as much as I have actually gotten done in this. So now we'll be looking at the, oops, that's the wrong one. Now when we go there. Then remaining steps. Yeah. So Gabby pointed out in the chat something that I very much agree with. I know all the plots or maps that people make with the Tidy Tuesday datasets live in that hashtag on social media, but I do wish there was a place with all the plots for each dataset with links to the GitHub repo if it was provided. I know it's a lot, but just thinking out loud. We used to, well, not we, was it David Grandin, I think? Someone won or was a I don't know, was somewhere in the ranking for one of the first shiny whatever our studio calls the or Posit has the shiny app contest, and David, I'm pretty sure it was David Grandin, had tidytuesday.rocks that he made that grabbed the Tidy Tuesday hashtag on Twitter, did some cleaning because there is a grooming Tidy Tuesday that we don't want to include in our data sets. And there's also people just cleaning up their office space. So sometimes people use Tidy Tuesday to mean other things. But there was a site that did it. So the fact that it's not all data sets makes it a little bit complicated. We would have to like do some sort of search or filter that like maybe only include the ones that have a GitHub repo. It's across, social media is scattered, and so that makes it difficult. But I really, I would really like to do this, and that's in the somewhere on the horizon. I don't know where yet, but we want to recreate that kind of site so people can see what other people have done. I do encourage people, to post in the chat Tidy Tuesday on DSLC Slack. That's a little kind of safer of clearly it's about Tidy Tuesday. And if not, we can moderate it. And yeah, there we go. Yes. So it is a cool app, but it has not been updated since 2021. So it's still really neat. And if someone would like to recreate this, maybe make a Blue Sky version or a Mastodon version, or we might be able to do a version with our Slack channel, start compiling info from that. That might be the easiest. I'll think about that. That we could have you like put a keyword in the posts, or maybe we just compile everything from that channel and make an app out of that. That could be neat. That could actually be really neat. Okay. Anyway, because yes, that is like the most intimidating thing is kind of the first time you're doing this, trying to figure out what do I do here? How does this work? And so having these examples is definitely really helpful. And yes, well, you didn't really give me more work. It's something that I've been wanting to do, and so you just gave me another inspiration to work on that. And I guess the other part that I want to talk about a little bit, and we're running out of time, so I'm not going to go through the rest of the process. It is in the like in the repository of how to do it, and it's coming soon to Tidy Tuesday R, because I do want to kind of ask you a little bit, or just meanderingly talk about that. I want to submit a talk, or submit talks, at least to PositConf and probably some other ones about Tidy Tuesday. We've never had a Tidy Tuesday talk at PositConf, which shocked me to look back on. And it is something like it's used at universities, but not, enough. I want people to know that they could submit data sets. I want people, I don't know. I want people to know about it, but I don't know exactly what people would like to hear. And, got a few weeks to figure that out and get a talk submitted. And so, if you have ideas right now, that would be great. If not, I would love to hear them. Like, go to the Project Club channel. If you think of an idea of what you think would be a really interesting talk, I think right now, my main idea is, kind of a more formal version of what I've been talking about today, with the aim of, why why is this a useful thing for you to do? And I think it's a great way to publicize data sets if you are, someone in a academic community, or but like I would love to have nonprofits who don't have a budget for data visualization to just put out their data sets. If you're willing to share your data, people are willing to share some visualizations. And, obviously, I'll talk a little bit about how you can use those without being gross. But so I think I want to talk about like why and how you should share data sets through Tidy Tuesday. But I'm curious whether that's interesting, basically. Yeah, so Lydia did bring up that I did have a Tidy Tuesday podcast. I think the last episode was before the pandemic. Unlike everyone else who started a podcast during the pandemic, I ended mine. And yeah, I did 16 episodes, but that was fun. I would like to do that again, and it becomes a lot more possible if we have all the data sets in advance, because part of it is talking about that week's data set. And that is really hard to do because that used to mean that I had to record the podcast like Monday morning, because then it would go out on Tuesday, and either Sunday or Monday is when the data set was available for me to play with it and talk about it for the podcast. So part of the idea was just this was a personal thing that I like really short podcasts, or I like having them available to kind of fill in between other podcasts. So it was intentionally a roughly 5-minute podcast. And it was just a intro to the new data set. A little bit of like, I think I would find the one data set, the one visualization from the previous week that I don't know, that gave me something to talk about. It was really hard though, so that's where that's gone. I would like to bring it back, probably as a YouTube thing, because obviously a podcast about data viz is a little strange. But it was still, I don't know, I think it worked out well enough. Guest speakers make it even harder. But yes, because you would think that it makes it easier, but then you have to deal with sound and timing and coordination. But I do like the idea. And I'm not like, I do still keep it online, and I'm not totally averse to the idea of if someone else would like to start doing this. Cool, let's get a podcast going. I might like put it on, the quote unquote official feed. I would want to make sure that I like the result. But other than that, if someone wants to do it, that'd be great. But yeah, as far as talks, I would like to, like, the weird thing about submitting for PositConf is you have to submit by February 3rd, and then the talk is in the middle of September. And so, for example, right now I'm like, oh, I should do a talk of recruiting people to submit data sets. But maybe in the middle of September, I'll have the next 2 years of data sets already submitted. And at that point, I don't really want, I won't care about more data sets. Now, I doubt it, but it's hard. So if people have thoughts of what would make a really interesting talk related to Tidy Tuesday, I would definitely love to hear those. Let's see.
I think,
The other thing. Oh, go ahead.
yeah. Well, since we know that there have been classes that have used the data set, perhaps even kind of speaking to like the fact that it's been used in schools. I don't know how to go about that route, but I feel like that's something interesting. Also, like there's the Tidy Tuesday like club that meets. So like it's beyond just like something we do for our community or like the DSLC. So I think even discussing that, so the benefits of the project to like the larger community. Yeah. And also,
Yeah.
I don't think you mentioned it, or if you did, I might not have been signed in. Um, Having the if we do have the Wrangleathon, even mentioning that, I guess that's something we would have to plan and have. But
So
yeah.
yeah, I do want to still do that fairly soon. Um, Lydia mentioned the Wrangleathon. So the idea is put out on social media, hey, we want to be done for the year. So we need people to come in and review data sets and or submit data sets. And let's just get another, 52 data sets, and then we have a year done. Technically, most years it's 51 data sets. So um, that is definitely something that I would like to talk about soon. But I mean, I guess it's probably going to be an annual thing. So maybe talk about how that went and then that it will be coming again in January or February or whatever we decide is kind of Tidy Tuesday Ringleathon month. Um, I do so that both of those are definitely good ideas. How to use it in class / how it has been used in class. I like to think about like I don't like the talks that are just look at this cool thing I did. I'm cool, but rather look at this cool thing I did. Here's how it will help you, or here's how you can do it, or here's how you can use it. Um, and so, for example, I wouldn't want to just talk about we did this Wrangleathon, the end. Um, but if it was we did this Wrangleathon to create, and I guess here's how you can use those data sets, and here's how you can come participate in the next Wrangleathon and learn some wrangling skills or learn to use GitHub or whatever it is that we're trying to push with it. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, go ahead.
I think it would be kind of like again emphasizing like that learning opportunity we're providing. Because
Yeah,
it could be some people's first contribution to a GitHub repo. May or may
yeah.
not be. But yeah.
Well, yeah. Um, yeah, there's still a review process because the actual GitHub submission part is going to be really, really easy soon. Like I said, I did do a dry run. Let's see if I got this handy. That um, you can, let's see, there we go. So this is really ugly code, but it worked. It created a pull request um, without you had to set up a GitHub token, or really you had to whatever you had to do the use this setup step, and then it went through. You just gave it the directory basically, and it does the whole submission. Um, that's what I'm aiming to put into Tidy Tuesday R, and so you'll have to yeah, I guess it is. It's kind of a your first PR. Um, it's a nice relatively painless way to do a pull request and learn to use GitHub. That could be a good hook. Um, and that is, I think that's the reason that we do book clubs, do the slides through GitHub. why I do Tidy. Well, I do Tidy Tuesday through GitHub because it's easier, but I encourage this because it's a skill that everyone should learn. And so the easiest way to include that in what we learn is to actually do it. So I like that idea. Okay, making just a couple of quick notes. Any other thoughts? Right. Like I said, this is coming along. Basically I have all the code written. I just need to actually put it into the package. And I'm writing a vignette as I go. And so hopefully in the next week or two, the Tidy Tuesday R package will have have a process built in to make this really as easy as it can be. Yeah. Any other questions, comments? All right. Then, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I don't have a
No
lot of
problem.
the comments. Because I think when I was looking through okay, so when people actually do the pull requests, we never actually, like, none of the things like the R cleaning script, instructions, intro, that stuff doesn't actually save. Like, it's not what you see as the pull request, if I'm right.
It is. Well, okay. So what happens is you do the pull request, and when I accept it, I run a script that takes all of your stuff and creates the final files. And so, for example, if we go over to this, like I said, this is intro.rmd. This would have been conf2023.md. This is conf2024.md. And this is cleaning.r. And so you submit those separate files, and then the script that we run compiles it all together into the final README. And then also, does this, creates the row in the README and creates the row in the main README. That will remain the process because it's way, way, way easier to review when it's the pieces. Can tell you to fix something in the cleaning script, and I don't have to dig it out of the overall view. And it's also just easier to make sure you don't forget a step, because it used to be when it was like Tracy Teal and I doing it every week, we would miss one of these pieces, like, oops, we forgot to update the year README, or the link in the year README is supposed to be relative to the year folder, and we accidentally made it relative to the main site or something. And so this process has eliminated all those mistakes that are just fiddly things that you shouldn't have to remember. So yeah, that is a thing. I don't know. I don't know how much that needs to be called out, but I guess if it's confusing, then it does. So I'll watch for that as I am. So I have taken the instructions in number one, broken it into functions, so there's less that you have to understand correctly. Like, one of the things people often kind of aren't clear about is if we go over to there, it's the this template that exists right now. There's the meta file, and people will say as their title, this week we're exploring POSITConf talks. And the title is PodConf Talks. I'm hoping to make that a little bit clearer in the functional version so that you'll just be saying, you know, giving a title. Or I don't know, little things like that. And so I'm trying to build in some of those checks of things that people get confused about a lot of the time. So yeah. All right. Well, that is the time. And so I am going to stop sharing. Oops. And if you have any more questions, or especially if you have ideas for things you'd like to hear about or things that you would like to see, please take it up, you know, bring it over to the DSLC Slack. If you're watching this on YouTube, that's dslc.io, and come join us. I will see everyone over there. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, bye.